Hi, my name's Kelsey. I'm a genius here at United BMW. Today we're going to talk about Apple CarPlay and the new iOS 13 update. So this is the new iOS 13 Apple CarPlay look. You'll notice things have been rearranged just a little bit differently. Your time, your data bars, and your battery are now up here at the top instead of being down here below these Siri suggested apps right there. And then of course your home button does look different. That's because you have what Apple calls a dashboard. So it's just gonna auto-populate the Apple Maps, your Siri suggestions up here, anything you might be listening to there, and then your calendar information down here. At this time, there's no way to change it, but it is possible that that will change later on. Just like before, even though your home button looks differently now, it's still organized there, and you press and hold it to activate Siri. You will notice that when we have Siri activated, it's still listening to what I'm saying, but it doesn't completely change the screen like it did before. So we can still see the map, we can still see everything that's going on behind it. So that way when you have a route going in navigation or anything else, you don't have to completely lose sight of that while you're utilizing Siri. So if we swipe back over, there are a lot of changes and they're all kind of minute. So we're just gonna start here and then we're gonna go over to the rest of them. Calendar and settings are the two that are completely new to the operating system. Everything else has just been updated a little bit. So if we go into phone, this one is still largely the same. The biggest difference here is that every time you open that app, it's not going to default to give you Siri and then make you get out of Siri and then go into your contacts. Instead, it just takes you right to it. And if you decide that you want to call someone, you can do so from there. Going into music, this one does look a good bit different. Now instead of just having a list of recently added songs, you can go into it and you can scroll through and look at everything that you've recently added. And if you select an album, you can go through and you can pick from all of those. So if we go back to library, everything else will remain largely the same. The newest addition here is the addition again of the album art. So just kind of rounds out the appearance of it, makes it look more like your phone. So from there, Apple Maps has been updated too. And this is really great because before you couldn't type in a new destination. It either had to be a Siri suggestion or you had to use voice commands to do it. So instead now you can do search. And you can go to frequently search places, you can do voice commands, or you can type in a new search there. If we do cancel, we'll go back. You can also go to recently done destinations. We don't need to look at them, but it'll pull up all of those in there as well. So over here, this is what gives you either your perspective or you're facing north, right here. And you can take it from a 3D view to a 2D over top view as well. These ones here, pretty similar to Google Maps in ways. Now you tap them depending on where you want to go and it helps you navigate around the map. And then you can zoom in and out from here as well. So coming into messages, just like with the phone, it used to auto-populate Siri. You have to cancel Siri, then go into your messages, find who you wanted to text, and then dictate a message to them from there. Instead, now you just find who you want to send a message to, select that one, and then you can dictate a message to that contact. Or you can come up here to this and
who do you want to send it to?
Dictate a completely new message. So now playing does look, of course, different. From here, this icon has been updated. This is your album art over here. And then you still have the same controls that you had before. This has been condensed just a little bit to give you a better view of the titles. Sometimes with podcasts, the titles can be pretty long. You don't always get to see all of it. And then you still have your same forward and back controls here. It just looks a lot better mostly. If we go back, it's going to take us into podcasts. So from browse, you can scroll through, you can download ones you'll see here with the cloud, or you can just pick a new one to listen to. You can go through your library, or you can pull up a listen now to podcasts that you already have downloaded into your library. Not much to show in audiobooks, but it does look pretty much the same as podcasts, with the art for the book over here, the title, and the author over there. So, calendar. You can't actually add any new events to the calendar. That would kind of defeat the purpose of Apple CarPlay being safer and more concise. But you can see anything that you have coming up today. If there is an address built into that, for example, this one down here, you can select that address, and it's going to navigate you to wherever that event is taking place. In this case, it's here. It's also worth noting with calendar, from the home screen, it's going to show you what day it is, just like on your iPhone, but you can't actually see any other days from here. You can only see what's going on that day. And anything that's already passed, like appointments that we've had this morning, you won't be able to go back and view it. You can only go forward. So the other new thing here is settings. So again, this is going to be more concise, but it is still really useful. So you can turn on Do Not Disturb while driving. So if you get any messages, it'll auto text back a message saying something like, I have Do Not Disturb while driving on. If it's urgent, please text urgent and I'll get it. In appearance here, you can change it to that new iOS 13 always dark mode. Very spooky. Or you can leave it on automatic so that dark mode will turn on automatically around sunset. You can take out the Siri suggestions in dashboard. Or you can turn off that show album art if you don't like pictures. And then you won't see that here in Now Playing. It'll only be the podcast or the song information. So even though we have these arrows, they're not going to go anywhere. Really just there for show. So this update really only pertains to Apple-based apps. So like phone, music, everything else. Your third-party apps back here, they're going to look pretty much exactly the same. And finally, we have one of my favorite updates to the iOS 13 Apple CarPlay, and that's what they call screen independence. So previously, if you had an app open, say music, and your passenger wanted to look at something on your phone or navigate away from the music screen, previously it would just take you back to the home screen here. So if you had navigation going and wanted to change the song or got a message, it would completely take you out of that. Whereas now, we can navigate to somewhere nearby, and our passenger can look at our photos or even change the music without taking away from your on-screen directions. So like I mentioned, we're also going to look at the iOS 13 update Apple CarPlay in iDrive 6 as well, because this is still something that a lot of people have. So this one looks a little bit darker than it would typically. That's because we're in an X3M competition, but it's still the same standard operating system. So if we go over, select Apple CarPlay, it doesn't take up the entire screen. It's still only in the same area that we're used to. Otherwise, everything looks largely the same as it does in iDrive 7. It's just more condensed. So we don't have all of the apps available over here like we did. Otherwise, calendar and settings do get bumped to the second page with the third-party apps. For example, if we go into Now Playing, you can see that it still has all of the same information as in iDrive 7. It's just a little more pinched than it would be before. Apple did open something that they call dynamic scaling, which means that if you do have a screen like this, or if it's a little bit of a weird shape, the vehicle manufacturer will have the option to change it around so that it's not limited to just this area. It could potentially be the full screen. It's only been out for about a day, but we've already gotten a few questions about the two-screen Apple CarPlay that people are hearing about. Basically what that refers to is Apple has given, again, vehicle manufacturers the option to integrate some of the Apple CarPlay features into other screens in the car. So that could refer to your dash or even maybe the head-up display. Just depends on what the manufacturer of your specific vehicle decides what they want to do. BMW hasn't released any information in regards to plans or anything definitive yet, and more than likely we won't hear anything about that until maybe 2020. That's it for the iOS 13 updated Apple CarPlay. If you have any other questions, please always feel free to stop by or give us a call.